starting stream. Lauren, you are live.
Good morning and welcome to another live dive with diveLIVE. So just to introduce you to the team, I am Lauren from Bonnie, Scotland here, and I will be your underwater biologist. We have the amazing Rian on camera, who's from South Africa, and your surface biologist will be the beautiful Simone from Australia. So right now we are at a place called the Devil's Grotto. It's incredibly beautiful, a lot happening right now, and we want to take you diving here and connect you to the underwater realm. Now this place is called the Devil's Grotto because apparently a pirate came here and left lots of treasure. So when the camera's not looking at me, I'm going to be looking for the treasure. So just to give you an update, I'm at 3.5 meters just now, and the water temperature is 27 degrees Celsius, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So over to you, Simone.
Hey everybody, I'm Simone and I am on the surface ready to look at all of the questions that you're sending in. You're welcome to hashtag diveLIVE on Twitter or send some questions through on YouTube as well as our diveLIVE Facebook page. Now you can see it's pretty busy down there. It looks like we have some huge tarpon.
We have tarpons and a huge school of beautiful Creole wrasse. It's just incredible down here. It's really early in the morning, Grand Cayman time. It is 7 a.m. and the fish life is just incredible. Are you getting a good look at those Creole wrasse?
Yeah, we certainly are. So the Creole wrasse are those purple fish.
Yeah, and they seem to be feeding. So I'm not sure if it's visible to you, but in the water there's a lot of plankton. It's probably coming across as snow. It looks like marine snow to you, but it's actually plankton. And all the fish are just feeding on that at the moment.
Yes, those bright purple Creole wrasse are coming high up from the reef. Do they normally school that high? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, they're only, literally, I am at 3 meters just now, and they are all above me, so they're literally almost on the surface.
Yeah, and Tiva is wondering what is floating on the surface.
Oh, that is sargassum. So that is a type of algae, and it's kind of all just floating above us. And I won't go to the surface, but if you were to take a closer look inside, you would probably find a huge range of animals hiding inside all that algae.
Yeah, I've heard that lots of small turtles hitchhike on these sargassum, and they float all around the world. So this is where, you know, juvenile turtles hang out. Oh, and right behind Lauren, there are two huge tarpon.
Oh, hello there.
How big would you say those tarpon are?
Maybe like 90 centimeters.
Oh, so around 3 feet.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them on the surface as well. So let's try and see if we can get a better look at these tarpons for you.
Yeah, so the plankton that you are seeing falling towards your screen is, plankton can be an animal or a plant. So it's anything that gets caught in currents and travels around the world.
Yeah.
And so these fish are really high off the reef, utilizing all the plankton that's flying through them. And we're going through that school of Creole wrasse now.
I literally feel like I'm part of this feeding school.
You look like you're part of the school.
Amongst this fish. And they're just all eating the plankton. It's incredible.
Oh, it looks lovely.
I don't think I've seen the fish life so active here as it is right now.
Yeah, and oh, we've got some schooling jacks down here as well. So those are horse-eye jacks, also known as trevally.
Oh man, there must be about 100 here. And we can identify them by their body shape. So we know that they're a jack, which is a predatory fish. And if you look at their eye, it's absolutely huge. So we call these the horse-eye jacks.
Yeah, and they're very, very fast animals, and they can grow to huge sizes as well. And they go from the shallows of, you know, a meter or two, all the way down to 150 meters.
Yeah. So this is a great time to come diving because all the fish are just feeling really hungry and obviously looking for food. So please remember to send in questions relevant to what you see on the screen, hashtag diveLIVE.
Yeah, and tell us what you would like to see as well. We can definitely try and point out a few things if you're interested. But Lauren, is there anything in particular you are looking for today?
I'm not going to attempt fate. I am happy to see anything right now, and I think we're going to be lucky. Considering the amount of life that's teeming around here, I think we're going to find plenty to show you.
Yeah, I'm very jealous. I would love to be in the water with you. And so we have these blue tangs on the screen and some juvenile
Rian's found a mini school of blue tangs, and they're feeding. So they're looking for all the algae that's built up on the coral and the rocks.
Yeah, so those blue tangs are the round, circular blue fish, and they have a very sharp scalpel-like appendage on their tails. And this can slice through absolutely anything, so it's pretty hard for a predator to attack them from behind.
Yeah, it's not really visible to the eye. You can't see it. It isn't until you get close that you would actually see that.
Yeah, well, sometimes the camera is illuminating this bright yellow stripe, and that is the blade, as we call it. And so those were just feeding on the algae that is on the reefs at the moment, and they go through and just feed all day.
So up ahead, swimming right towards the camera, is a school of 5 tarpons.
Wow.
And look at their big, grumpy-looking mouths. So it gives them a really nasty-looking expression, but actually by looking at this mouse, we can see exactly what kind of feeding they do. So they tend to do really fast bursts of speed from bottom up. And normally they love to feed on the silver sides here. So they'll swim along the bottom and they'll just burst up through the school and open that big mouth of theirs.
Yeah, they're very powerful fish as well. They're quite notorious in the wrangling business because they can jump very high out of the water. Their body is kind of shaped like a torpedo.
Yeah, they can. And tarpons are actually one of the only fish that have been seen to daisy chain. And what that means is a group of them will form a chain, nose to tail, and swim around continuously in circles. And scientists don't actually know why they do this. They thought it was for spawning, but they've discovered it's not. It's nothing to do with that. So we don't really know why tarpons get together and form these daisy chains.
Yeah, it is quite confusing, especially because they are migratory fish. Tarpons can migrate 1,200 miles around the oceans. And you can see it kind of looks like they're ready to hunt. I think because there is so much plankton, there's definitely going to be some silver sides.
Oh, stingray!
Oh, yes!
Rian's well ahead of me. It's on the move, but we do have a juvenile southern stingray.
All right, you can see that in the center, that stingray gracefully swimming across the sand. Now, they do have a very venomous spine, but they don't really use it that much.
No, they never use it at all. It's just a modified dermal denticle that's covered by a layer of skin. And it obviously is very, very sharp, so it can puncture, but they don't actively use it. It's solely there just to protect themselves and self-defend. So they're really, really gentle animals, and they would never harm you unless you were to accidentally stand on that barb.
You've got to be careful for sure. And he's actually swimming across the sand. They're probably looking for food because they do.
Yeah, we're going to hope and catch up with it around the corner, but it was swimming pretty fast. So
yeah, I think he was searching for some food that's in the sand. They like to eat lots of crustaceans that are in the sand, and they have a very powerful mouth actually on the bottom of their underside.
Yeah, I'm just having a little look for it. Now, fingers crossed we come back round to it, but for now we're just going to keep swimming with all these different schools of fish. And in the past I was asked a really interesting question that I never actually knew the answer to. And that was, what's the difference between shoal and school? So obviously I went and researched it, but a shoal is a group of fish that have come together for social reasons. And nearly a quarter of all species of fish spend their whole life in a shoal. And a school is when a group of fish come together, maybe not in a coordinated manner, just to feed. So it's two different types of aggregations. But a show is for social reasons, and a school is probably just like those blue tanks that are there for feeding.
Now, Wello was wondering, do we ever have huge shoals of fish similar to the numbers in the sardines that migrate up the coast of South Africa?
Can you repeat that, Simone?
Wello was wondering, do we ever get large shoals of fish similar to the fish of the sardines up in Africa? So no, we don't get those huge schooling numbers. We do get a lot of schooling silver sides, but they definitely don't reach anywhere near the numbers. And in islands across the way, we get schooling groupers who do reach huge numbers as well. The Nassau grouper schools to breed, but besides that, we don't get the big migrations. I wish we did, though. It'd be very cool.
So I'm just looking up at the surface here, and the tarpons are actually going right up to the surface and almost coming out the water and then coming back down again. And you know, these fish are incredible. They actually breathe air. So their swim bladder, which is commonly used for buoyancy amongst all fish, kind of acts as like a pseudo respiratory organ, and they can breathe air, which is such an amazing survival technique. So in areas of really low oxygen, maybe if they're in water where the oxygen supply is being depleted, these guys can survive because they just breathe the air, and they're doing that right now.
Wow.
Can you see them?
Yeah, so they're going up to the surface to actually inflate their swim bladder to continue their ability to breathe. This is really, really good when they're in mangroves. So inside mangroves, there's often low oxygen, and they're still able to hunt, whereas a lot of other fish who don't have oxygen are not able to swim away.
Yeah, and they really take advantage of fish who are maybe a bit weak or a bit dizzy and confused due to the lack of oxygen, and they snap them up.
They do, and they look very graceful. Sometimes when the camera comes really close, remember to look at the scales of the fish. An individual scale can be up to 3 inches long.
Yeah, and they're actually a really close relative of the eel, which really surprised me when I found that out. They're very closely related to eels, and even the juvenile tarpons are really eel-like. When you look at them, you would think they're little baby eels, but they're not. They're tarpons. So there's now 6 of them.
Yeah.
Just following them around. It's just incredible.
I feel like I'm a tarpon swimming on with them. And you can see those huge eyes. So they actually normally hunt at night. But I think there's so much happening that they might be thinking this is a good time to get a free meal.
Yeah, and they're so shallow. Again, I'm still only at 3 meters. This has not been a deep dive at all. There's so much to see up here.
There really is. And you can always see there's one going up to the surface now. I think he might be breathing. And we see that mouth open, so I think that was a breath.
And they are, all of them, every single one of them are going up to the surface and taking a gulp of air. Isn't that incredible for a fish?
And they can stick their jaws out really quite far. A lot of fish have something called jaw protrusion. So it comes out about 1 inch or 2, depending on the size of the fish. It's almost like
they have quite an
snorkel.
underbite, if you like. So the bottom jaw comes right out further than the top jaw, which gives them that sort of grumpy-looking face.
I know, they do look so grumpy, but I think they're pretty nice fish, especially letting us swim so close to them. They don't actually have any predators here, so they can be relaxed when divers are around. They only get eaten by large sharks, which don't frequent these reefs.
So I think we're just going to head a little bit deeper now, because we've stayed really shallow following all these tarpons. But we are going to head a little bit deeper, and hopefully we can find a stingray.
I would love to see a stingray. They are amazing creatures, and they get up really large sizes in this part of the world. I think there was one that had a diameter of about 5 feet, the southern stingray. And going back to those tarpon, the largest one ever caught was 161 kilograms. So that's about 355 pounds.
What is that you're talking about, Simone?
The largest tarpon ever found.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's huge. It's like about the size of 3 to 4 leopards. It's very, very heavy.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, so we've just lost focus on the camera.
Okay.
So maybe Freyan can fix it a little bit. It's getting a little bit better. There we go. We can see your beautiful face.
I think it's probably focusing on the plankton. It's really thick here today.
Yeah, so would you say the plankton present has affected the visibility today?
Yes, absolutely. It's not bad visibility. The water's not got that green tinge that it has had the past few days. But, yeah, it's definitely thick with marine snow. Now, you may just see me do this. Squeeze my nose, and that's just me equalizing, because as I'm talking to you, we're actually going deeper. So that was me just equalizing my ears in case anybody wondered what I was doing.
Now, we are diving from Don Foster's at a dive site known as Devil's Grotto. Now, this is on the Grand Cayman Islands in the Caribbean, for those who are joining late. And we have Lauren on screen being your underwater biologist, and Rian on camera, delivering some amazing shots today. We've been lucky enough to see some tarpon and a stingray. And then I am Simone, ready to answer your questions on YouTube, Twitter's hashtag diveLIVE, and our Facebook page as well.
Yes, please. I really look forward to your questions.
Now, T6 Gaming is wondering, what happens if the tank runs out of air?
Do you mean the divers?
Yes.
Sorry. We would never let ourselves get in that situation. So if Rian's just able to maybe put the camera on me, I can show you that I have this gauge here, which is safely tucked, and it will tell me the amount of air I have left in my tank. So I started with 200 bar, and now I'm at 150. So I've got lots of air left, and I will always check this every few minutes to know how much air I have. And once we get to around 60 or 50 bar, we know it's time to end the dive, go up slowly, do a safety stop, and then go to the surface.
Yeah, we are very safe and conservative divers here, so we hope to never have that issue, but thanks for checking. We also often check our gauges, and I'll often ask Lauren how much air she has left.
So we do have some, is it schoolmasters?
Yes.
These schoolmasters, they're part of the snapper family, which is a really big and common family. And this one in particularly is called the schoolmaster.
Yeah, we can tell because of those yellow fins, and when the fish get close to the camera, you can see those bars running down the body. So that's how we know it's a schoolmaster. And can anyone guess why they are called schoolmasters? Tell me what you think.
Tell me, Simone.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if anyone can guess in the audience, and we'll see if anyone's right. Now, when they swim close to the camera, we can actually see that they have a long black line running down their body. That's known as the lateral line, and almost all fish have this line. It actually can, it's like a sixth sense that can detect water pressure changes.
Yeah, I mean, most fish have the same senses that we have. Touch, taste, hearing. What senses do we have again, Simone?
Lots of. So hearing, sight, smell, taste, and touch.
Exactly, but they do have this lateral line that Simone was talking about, which can be coined the sixth sense, which is just incredible. Because you have to realize, in order to navigate the ocean, what the fish do in order to travel, to hunt, to feed, sound and light travel so differently in the water that they have actually adapted and evolved to have these extra senses. And even sharks and rays, they have another sense, the seventh sense, if you like. They have lots of little jelly-filled pores on their nose. If you look really close to a shark and a ray, you will see all these pores, and they contain electroreceptors. They can actually pick up electric signals in the water in order to find prey. So isn't that incredible? We just have these five senses, so it's hard for us to imagine how these other fish have adapted so much more.
Yeah, definitely. And the senses that they do have that we have as well, such as sight, are so different. They actually have an extra organ in their eye that makes them see many more colors than we can even conceive. Imagine trying to think of a new color. It's very, very hard.
So in case you wonder what I was doing, I was looking out into the blue because I really want to see that stingray that we just saw, but I can't find it, unfortunately. I will keep looking though.
Now, Lily was thinking that they're called schoolmasters because they hang around in small schools of fish, and they are bigger fish. So Lily...
here it is. We've got the juvenile southern stingray.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's going along the bottom there. So stingrays are bottom feeders. So their eyes are on the top of their body, and their mouth is actually underneath their body. And they have these really hard jaws with teeth, and they will crush all the prey that they find on the bottom.
And we've got a barjack swimming with them as well. So this barjack actually is hunting with the stingray as we speak. They're both hunting right now.
Oh, it's feeding now. I'll tell you how I know that. It's doing something called tenting. Now, the name suggests it creates a tent. So it lifts its head up slightly off the bottom, and it uses this great suction force to suck up all the prey that would be underneath the body.
And the two fish that are joining them are using his suction force. And so this stingray may, lose a crustacean or two, and they'll snap it up.
Yeah,
so it's lazy.
Incredible. It's definitely a juvenile. It's not an adult, but I can't tell if it's male or female, unfortunately, because the genitals are on the underside, and I haven't got a view of that. But if it was male, it would have a pair of claspers. So similar to shark, this is just an extension of the pelvic fin. It's made from cartilage, like the animal itself, and that was how we would know that it was a boy. In females, there's no claspers. But unfortunately, we didn't get a look at the underside.
Yeah, it's very hard to get underneath those stingrays, especially as they do like to stick down to the ground. But hopefully he'll come back. He seems to not mind the camera too much, which is lovely.
So many people don't realize that sharks and rays are actually really closely related. And this is because their skeletons are made up of cartilage. Our skeletons are made up of bone. So cartilage is much weaker than bone, but it's very flexible and resistant to disease. So it allows them to move these wings that they have. Do I make a good stingray?
Beautiful stingray.
And sharks are the exact same, so this is why they're grouped together in the elasmobrang family because of this reason. So you saw how swift that stingray was and how fast it moved away. It seemed a little bit annoyed with that barjack, to be honest.
Yeah, he's stealing all his good food. Now, Seenaken, please tell me how to pronounce your name. I was wondering what type of stingray that was. So that was a juvenile southern stingray.
Yes, and that's a really iconic species here in the Grand Cayman. It's very focused on tourism here. And we have a white spotted filefish on screen.
Oh, that's one of our favorites. So the filefish, we'll get a little bit closer. It comes across in
a... working on it. Yeah. It seems to be very busy. Now, you can't actually see the white spots right now, I don't think.
No, we can't, but it's the yellow fish, quite large, and he has a bit of a snout with some large teeth, doesn't he?
And I just love filefish. They're very closely related to the triggerfish, and you can't see it right now, but it will have a sort of spine that can become erect.
Oh, he's feeding at the moment on a sponge. Yeah. So that's a purple vase sponge that you can see he's been chomping on for a little while, I think.
And if you look at the mouth, you can see it's perfectly designed for chomping away on things. Mm-hmm. Look at those strong incisors.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see it's swimming with its top fin and its bottom fin. It's dorsal and anal fins.
Yeah, and the reason this group of fish is called filefish is because their scales on their skin are really small, but they have a tiny little spine. So if this fish were to pass away and be dried in the sun, their skin can actually be used as like a sandpaper. And apparently it was used to polish off boats back in the old days.
Wow, and they can get quite large as well, up to about a foot. How big would you say this one is, Lauren?
Maybe around 50 centimeters. It's not the biggest species in the family, but yeah, it's quite big. And it's quite flat and disc-like as well. It's a really awkward looking shape.
Yeah, it definitely is. And a lot of the time they can come in pairs. A lot of the time they swim in pairs, and it's very cute. So I don't know if he is a bachelor on the reef or his girlfriend's out somewhere for the moment.
Yeah.
And now, Lauren, what depth are you at the moment?
Yes, I am at 11.9 meters, which I can see from my dive computer. This is my most precious thing I own. I love it. And every time I look at it, I can see exactly how long I've been diving for and what depth I'm at. So 11.9 meters. So you can see we've reached the sort of bottom of the coral reef onto the sandy bottom. Now the sandy bottom might look like a bit of a desert and there's not that much to see, but in fact there's a lot to see around here, which is why we always check it out. And it is the perfect place to see stingrays.
Now Tiva was wondering, are there any fish that look after their young? Or do they all ignore their young? I would say that most fish do not look after their young.
Yeah, it's very rare to see maternal and paternal care.
And it looks like there's something hiding in that Gorgonian up ahead, the Gorgonian being the big coral.
Oh, yes.
What is that?
I'm a little bit behind Rianne. We're both just keeping our eyes peeled for so many different things.
That's all right. It looks like a grouper is wedged itself into a Gorgonian coral.
Yeah, it is juvenile grouper. I think it's
a tiger.
That we don't see it, but we do.
That's very good camouflage. That's a tiger grouper. We can see from the markings, the kind of stripy markings on.
It's very small. I would say it's about not even 30 centimeters, maybe 25.
So that's just a little bit under a foot, and they can get much, much bigger, about 5 feet or so. And it looks like he's relaxing, you know, he doesn't have to swim while he's in his little tree.
That was a good spot, Simone.
I thought it stuck out like a sore thumb.
But I don't think he realizes that. I think this little fish thinks he was pretty well hidden.
And then he swims on off. Now, those groupers can grow, as I said, huge, about 5 feet. And in historical records, we found skeletons that are, you know, bigger than a minivan. So huge.
Wow, and they are part of the sea bass family, which is a huge group of fishies. They're really, really diverse and broad group of fish.
Yeah. And there are quite a lot of juveniles on the reef. I think they use the reef as a bit of protection until they get older. Oh, and there's another grouper up ahead as well.
Yeah, there's just so many fish. I keep thinking, which one shall I point out and talk about? They're just everywhere. Yeah. We've got a little rock beauty here. The yellow and blue fish. Oh, it's just swimming away.
Oh, that's all right. It's pretty hard to pinpoint some fish, but if anyone sees a fish and they're not sure what it is, please tell us, and we're happy to tell you which one it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so we have some blue chromis swimming past. Those are the small blue fish. I mean, you can see that the water is just powdered, absolutely powdered with fish up there feeding.
Oh.
What have you spotted?
I thought we had a sea cucumber, but I'm not sure what this is. No, I don't think it is a sea cucumber, but we have a lot of sponges down here that have just broken.
Oh.
And just lying on the ground. I'm going to get Rianne to show you on this now. There's a yellow tube sponge that is literally just broken off and lying in the sand.
Oh, we'll definitely have to see that. There has been a storm in the past week that passed through, so it could have broken these. Oh no, there we go. There's a sponge laying on the ground.
Yeah, and I keep looking at them thinking they're sea cucumbers.
So we can see that it's broken, but don't fear, everybody. He can reattach or grow from where he is now. So that's the bright yellow tube sponge we see on the ground.
And sponges are the second most dominant factor here on the reef of the sessile organisms. So the first one is obviously coral, but the second one is sponge. There's such a huge variety of sponges here, and that was the yellow tube sponge.
Yeah, and we saw from that filefish eating earlier that there are a lot of fish that eat these things. So
yeah, I'll just show you what the filefish was eating, actually. There's another one here. This is a vase sponge. So this purple one here is a completely different shape and color, but it's also a sponge.
yeah, this one's lucky it's intact, not like the other one that was being munched on. Now, sponges are not plants, everybody. They are animals.
They are. They're extremely primitive, though. They don't have any true tissue or organs, but they are animals.
Yeah, they're made up of individual cells that come together to perform multiple different roles. So it's amazing. And if you put a sponge in a blender, I think there's 5 different species that if you put them in a blender, they will reform afterwards.
I love that fact.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So they belong to the group plethora, which just means pore bearer. So they have lots of holes when you get closely, and that's how we know that it's a sponge. You can probably see the holes right now. I think Rian's got one.
Yeah, we can see the holes. So the water, they actually filter water from the outside or the sides of the sponge into it, and they filter all the yummy food out and push it out through the top of those holes that we can see.
And they do, and they can actually pump water through the same volume as their body between every 5 and 20 seconds. So they're so efficient at what they do, they're just constantly pumping water.
Yeah.
And they can actually strain out 99% of all bacteria from that water. So they're such specialists at what they do. They're really good at it also.
Yeah, and they might look a little bit feeble and weak, but they are not. So an animal, if it's sessile, it cannot move. So it would have to have some pretty amazing defensive mechanisms to make sure nothing is eating it. And one of these mechanisms is it is very similar to glass. So it's very hard for an animal to chew on something that's similar to glass.
Yeah, and for this reason they don't have many predators. But one of their main predators is actually something that I was really hoping to see today, and that is the hawksbill sea turtle. So they are famous for munching on sponges. And it isn't really known how they deal with the sort of toxins that are contained in the sponges. And they say that as more than half of the stomachs, the material inside the hawksbill's stomach is actually just glass fragments. Ouch.
So it actually looks on the sponge on the screen, the middle one seems to have been broken. So I wonder if this was where the piece that we saw laying on the floor actually originated from.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of been sawn in half.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty amazing. And you can see how reflective that bright the yellow color is. That is because the glass is reflecting the color of the camera's light. So it looks like it glows.
And all the different shapes that sponges come in, there is quite a wide variety. They're actually all designed just for the function that they perform, just to pump water through them. So this tube sponge, it sort of acts like a big chimney, if you like, for pumping water.
Yeah, and we can see we've been gliding over the reef and we've been seeing different shapes of sponges and different colors. Now, it's almost impossible to identify a sponge species without taking it out of the water and putting it under a microscope. So most people just identify it through the colors and the shapes. So here we have a rope sponge. There we go. We can see it's a sponge because it has those holes going down. So it's a rope sponge.
I mean, normally on land, animals are brightly coloured to sort of be attractive or to attract mates or to attract things to them. But underwater, bright colours tend to signify, I'm toxic, I'm dangerous, stay away. So many sponges are brightly coloured and they do contain toxic chemicals.
Yeah, so it does take very specialised animals to be able to consume them, like the hawksbill turtle, which we hopefully will see today.
I was really hoping to find a hawksbill. But you never know, we still have time.
Yeah, we definitely do. But actually, it looks like something, we can see a lot of broken sponge pieces. It's pretty crazy. I've never noticed that so many have been broken in one area. I wonder if something's come and eaten it.
Yeah, there's just broken sponges lying about everywhere.
Now, Marcy was wondering, do sponges filter the water and clean it?
Yes.
Yeah, they certainly do. So they filter, obviously, food particles out. But, Lauren, you were saying they filter 98% of bacteria as well?
What was that? Sorry, Simone?
You were saying that sponges filter 98% of bacteria?
99% of all bacteria from the water. So the water they pump back out is really, really clean.
Yeah, they're very, very important for the marine ecosystem. CNAC was wondering if they were, and they certainly do provide so much support for the marine life, not only in food, but in water cleanliness and also structurally. And because they have long, deep holes in them, a lot of things can hide inside sponges.
Yeah, and they do kind of dissolve into the reef. They kind of bore into the reef, and they can actually be a cause of erosion.
I suppose they have to weather some hurricanes, so they've got to hold on very tight.
I think Rion's really enjoying himself looking at all this different array of sponges.
And Marcia is wondering, are they breaking due to the most recent hurricanes? So there was a tropical storm, Alberto, that swept through.
We've got a barrel sponge down here, so let me just show you this different type. You've seen the tube one.
We still have some ropes.
It's a barrel sponge.
Oh, I love barrel sponges. They can grow absolutely huge as well.
And there's a juvenile grouper hiding inside.
All right, so in the center, we will be able to see this huge hole at the top of a barrel sponge.
Yeah,
now, how big is that?
This is about a meter tall.
It's about 3 feet tall, and there was a beautiful grouper swimming away. Wow. So maybe we can actually peer inside and see if anything else is hiding inside the sponge.
Yeah, the grouper left, saw us coming and was like, I'm out of here. But yeah, I think Rian's getting a good view inside.
Wow. Yeah, we can see those tiny holes as well. So the water comes from the outside in through these holes and up out the top of those barrel sponges.
Incredible. So you've seen quite an array of the diversity of sponges that we actually have here.
Yeah, and Marcia, you can imagine those big barrel sponges are quite sturdy, so the storms and hurricanes aren't going to damage them, but those long, thin tube and rope sponges will definitely suffer a bit. And here's another sponge here, a colonial sponge. There we go. Beautiful. And the colors, I mean, we can get purples. I've seen a bright blue, yellows, oranges, reds. It's amazing. And sometimes they can fluoresce using bacteria that makes them glow as well.
Yeah, so I'm still at 10 meters, and there's just so much to see down here.
Yeah. And Will was wondering, what's the temperature of the water?
What's the what, sorry?
What is the temperature of the water, Will was wondering?
Again, the information is here on my watch, and it reads 27 degrees Celsius.
So that's 82 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's about 80, yeah. So, even though that's probably warm to most, I do get a little chilly down here. So, thank goodness I've got my wetsuit on to keep me warm.
Definitely. And those wetsuits keep water close to the skin, so we heat up the water inside the wetsuit and we warm ourselves up. It's very efficient and effective. But I'm happy we're not diving in anything lower than 70 degrees. Oh, we have a trumpet fish on the screen. So there's a long, thin fish known as a trumpet fish hiding in the sponges. You can see why he chose this spot to hide. I think he blends in pretty well. And you can see why they're called trumpet fish. They're very long and thin and very, very good predators.
Yeah, the masters of disguise. I don't know how Rian spotted that one.
Rian is amazing at spotting things. So you might notice on its chin, it actually has a little barbels poking out of its chin. And this is actually a sensory organ that helps it kind of sniff out things in the water column.
Are you able to see that barbel, or is it too hidden?
It will be hidden, but I know that these guys will probably move and we'll be able to see it. There we go. Just on the tip of his lips.
I would say from the head to the tail, this one's about 30 centimeters.
So about a foot. That's pretty... It's actually technically quite small for a trumpet fish. They can get up to almost 3 feet. And they can coil their body up kind of like a spring and launch at anything they want to eat. So when they do hunt, it is lightning fast.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're able to see, but the back fins are just moving really fast and really quickly, obviously holding it into position.
Yeah, we can't see that, but I think it's more because they are moving so fast that we can't actually visually...
Yeah, it's incredibly fast.
Yeah, but they are still so still in the water column as well. Being such a thin, slender fish, it really helps them battle any currents. And their mouth, you think, oh, nothing can fit into that tiny mouth, right? Well, it can expand to double the size to let in any bigger fish it's trying to attack.
Yeah, do not be fooled.
Yeah, and you can see it's actually moving its mouth. I think it might be moving the barbel on the tip of its chin, kind of tasting and seeing what we're doing there. You know, what are we?
Yeah, it seems very curious, but it's still just disguising itself as a sponge for now.
I think he's doing a very good job. And you can see the natural lines running down it. So this is what we would call its natural color state. Trumpetfish have the ability to change colors and do crazy patterns. It's really phenomenal, and it helps them hunt. It's almost like an underwater chameleon.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this on camera, but right in the back of the trumpetfish is a tiny, tiny little juvenile sharp-nosed puffer, I think. Are you able to see that?
Not yet, but I will. Oh, yeah, a sharp-nosed puffer in the center to the top.
It is absolutely tiny, maybe not even 2 centimeters.
So he's been hiding in the sponges too. I think he's angry that this guy has stolen his good hiding spots. But how long would you say that animal is?
Which, the
sharp-nosed puffer, yes.
Yeah, 2 centimeters.
2 centimeters, so not even an inch. So very, very tiny.
This is very cute. So there's actually a lot of fish hiding in amongst the sponge.
And Marcy was wondering, what do trumpetfish actually eat? Oh, we have a very nosy mutton snapper.
Mutton snapper just came to investigate what's going on and what they're missing out on.
Well, trumpetfish definitely don't eat those big mutton snappers, but they do eat the smaller fish on the reef, like those chromis. So just little fish that we see darting around, that's what they'll eat.
And they're quite a stealthy predator, the trumpetfish. They're really good at just going streamlined along the reef and then all of a sudden just ambushing their prey.
Yeah, and being so thin, they can really skulk through all the tightly packed corals and little tubes that are going through all the rocks. So if a fish thought he got a really good hiding place, not for long, trumpetfish will be able to get in there. And you can, maybe if you look at those fins, those back fins, you can see them moving very, very quickly.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that would be visible or not because they're moving at such a fast speed.
Yeah, it is very tough. And you can see, it looks like it's probably had a very good meal recently. It's got a bit of a tummy on him. So he could have been hunting this morning when he woke up.
And the trumpetfish are very closely related to the pipefish and the seahorses. So some people might see a little close resemblance there.
Yeah, I certainly can. Pipefish and seahorses as well.
So we're just going to shallow up a little bit. We are at 10, and we're just going to slowly go a little bit shallower and get involved with all these schools that are up ahead.
Sounds like a good plan. And Take Care was wondering, are all fish nomadic, or do some have a home location?
What was that, Simone?
Are all fish nomadic, or do some have a home location they return to from Take Care?
A lot of the reef fish that you are seeing tend to have homes, if you like. It might not be homes, but they have territories. So a lot of the fish that you're seeing on screen are probably herbivores, and you kind of get herbivores in 3 different groups. The roving herbivores are the ones that just move around the same area, so they really will not leave that patch, if you like. They'll just kind of move around to feed there and also to live there.
Wow, we are getting amazing images of these Creole wrasse. And these Creole wrasse are swimming through their territory, so this reef system is their home. So they won't wander here and there.
Yeah. And then you do get really territorial fish that do find a little territory and they will not leave it. They will defend it and they will feed from it. And then you just get the fish that tend to just move all over that reef, commonly the scrapers. which would maybe be like your parrotfish that have the big beaks and just scrape. But generally, these reef fish will not leave this reef.
Yeah, and it goes up into larger fish as well. The tarpon that we saw previously actually sleep in a certain cave during the day, and we know that they're going to be in that cave. Similarly, nurse sharks will almost always return to the same place during the day to have a sleep. And so
yeah, so kind of the bigger the fish, they become a little bit more migratory. So the smaller ones you see will live around here, they're more territorial. But as you get bigger, they have the tendency to move and migrate further.
Yeah, and when it comes to migration, it's very rarely just wandering. They tune into the magnetic fields, they use smell and everything. They do know where they're going. Most of the time, I'm sure. Some of them get lost. And Lauren, so you said you were shallowing up. What depth are you sitting at now?
Sorry, Simone, you're going to have to repeat that.
No, not a problem. You said you were shallowing up. What depth are you at now?
Yeah, so we're now at 5 meters. So we just thought we'd come up. There's just so many fish swimming and dancing around here. We thought we'd come up and join them.
No.
And I have got 70 bar left. So I've got a little bit of time left with you, but right now I'm at 70. So we'll have a little look around here before I end the dive.
Sounds good. And, you know, it is 7:45 a.m. in Caymanian time, so this is a really good time to see fish, you know, waking up from a good sleep and having something to eat and maybe even a clean.
Yeah, it wasn't so fun waking up at that time myself. Not really a morning person, but to see the fish life, it's a great time. As Simone mentioned, a lot of fish are just waking up, and of course, like me, they're starving. So there's a lot of feeding and hunting going on at this time.
Yeah, and we get lucky, like with those tarpons, to see some night animals going to bed. So those tarpons were returning to the cave at Devil's Grotto to sleep, or to rest. And we can see there's a huge brain coral, that circular coral up ahead. It looks really a perfect sphere.
Oh, yeah, you're talking... Sorry, it's very hard to hear you, Simone. Are you talking about the brain coral?
Yes, the brain coral.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and it has these ridges and grooves, and that's actually where little polyps and tentacles live and come out during the night to feed.
So just to give some basic coral info, what you're looking at right now is obviously called a brain coral because it looks exactly like a brain, a big brain like my own. But this is actually a colony of tiny little animals, all perfectly formed together to make this coral. So a single coral animal is generally known as a polyp, and it's very, very tiny, too tiny for our eyes to see. And they all live inside of this brain coral. So you can't actually see the animal because they produce an external calcium carbonate skeleton. So what you're looking at is the skeleton, which is formed into this beautiful brain-like pattern, and all the animals live together inside. And this will continue to grow and grow and grow and get larger, but unfortunately, they're just incredibly slow growing. So this will take a lot of years for this brain coral to get bigger.
And those brain corals actually form the foundations of a lot of reefs, don't they? Oh, we've got another one on screen. Lots of brain corals where you are now.
Yeah, there's a lot of brain corals here.
Yeah, and so they form the foundations of the reefs. So the reefs that we're seeing now are actually just a collection of corals that have built up over thousands and thousands and thousands.
Turtle!
Oh, you're joking.
We have a mini hawksbill turtle over here.
All right, let me get the ID sheet up.
It is absolutely tiny. Hello there.
Oh, wow. That's a very juvenile turtle. And it's a hawksbill?
Yes, it's a juvenile hawksbill, so it's too young to tell the sex. But Rianne's going to get closer. And Simone, are you able to bring up the database and we'll have a look at who it is?
I certainly am doing that right now.
So it's going up for air. So we'll probably let this little turtle go up and take some breaths of air. and wait till it comes back down to join us.
Yeah, so turtles do have lungs, so they do have to go to the surface to breathe, but he looks very small. How big would you say this turtle is?
Oh, it's absolutely tiny. I wasn't sure if it was patch or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it come closer before I estimate the size. It's kind of above us right now, and I'm so happy.
That's how Lauren has done so much work with turtles. She is the hawksbill expert. So very lucky to be able to see this with her at the moment.
Yeah, this is a perfect way to end the dive. And you can see it just took a big gulp of air. It's probably going to take another 1 or 2, and then it will come back down again.
So the juveniles can hold their breath for around 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, on average, this one will probably hold its breath for about 20 minutes before it comes up again for more air. But juveniles tend to stay much shallower than the adults anyway, so they're a lot closer to the surface if they do need to come and breathe.
And there he goes, coming back down.
So are you able to get a good look at the side of the face, Simone?
I will be. I'm just seeing his underside now. Now, it's too young to sex, unfortunately. Maybe I can get its carapace. Now, we do have a juvenile turtle on this reef called Patch, so it could be Patch.
Yeah. So if it was much bigger, normally with hawksbills, and the carapace length, the actual shell length is 60 centimeters, then you could say that it's sexually immature and it can be classified as an adult.
This is a new turtle. We have never seen this turtle on the reef. So this is going to be Hawksbill 007.
Oh, it's so small. Okay, I would say from about the tip of the beak to the end of the turtle, it's about 65 centimeters.
Wow. So about 2 foot. That's very small, and he looks very sweet. And you can see he's not using his back flippers, just the front to propel himself. The back flippers are used as a rudder to steer him around the sponges and knocking into things.
So just back to basic, the reason I knew this was a hawksbill is there is 7 species of turtles globally. Hawksbill is one of them, and they have a few features about them, a few identifying features that made me know that this was a hawksbill. And the first one would be the shape of that beak. So it's really sharp and pointy. It has quite an overbite, and that's where the name hawksbill actually comes from.
Yeah, and Naomi James was wondering how many hawksbills do we have on the turtle base at the moment? So we have 6, and this is number 7.
And you're sure it's not Patch?
Very positive.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And 007 will be his hawksbill number, so pretty.
That might have to be James Bond right there.
I think so. Mr. Bond is cruising the reefs, and I think he's probably looking for some sponges to feed on.
Yeah, it's swimming very gracefully. It's not bothered by our presence. And if you just look at the shell, you can see that the actual scales on the shell are overlapping each other. That's another identifying feature of the hawksbill. And the edges of the shell are really serrated, really jaggy. Again, another identification feature for this animal.
And how old would you think this turtle age is from Betty?
We normally estimate age on the side, so I would probably say this is between 5 to 8 years old. It's very, very, very young.
Yeah, it's so small.
And it does have a little patch mark on its shell as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of algae. As such a slow-moving animal, you can imagine there's so much algae that can grow on him. So these red colors and whatnot are actually algae. They're not blood or any terrible wound.
Just going to give it a little wave. Hello.
It looks very relaxed.
Oh, it's an incredibly sweet little turtle. And they do also have greens and loggerheads around here, but hawksbills are the most common species that we find. What a perfect way to end the dive.
Now make sure you do watch your air, Lauren.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know we want to stay down as long as possible with this little guy, but we unfortunately cannot. We are restricted.
Yes, so unfortunately I am approaching 50 bar, so we will have to end the dive on this beautiful little juvenile hawksbill turtle. who is new in our database. So thank you everyone for watching and sending in your questions and joining us on this amazing journey, connecting you with this beautiful environment that I am in right now. Thank you to Rian on camera, who always does an amazing job. And thank you to Simone on the surface. There will be another dive today, which will be at 11 a.m. Canadian time. So goodbye, little turtle. I'll see you all later.